On the other, women are breaking norms, even fashion norms, even beauty norms. So what are we talking about? Is a massive pivot of a story where we are talking about a fashion phenomena that's shaking up the style scene. Ugly fashion trends, believe it or not. From sauce-stained shirts to stopper boots to bleached eyebrows, what was once deemed as ugly is now making waves on the runway as well. It's all about embracing the unconventional, the bold, and the downright rebellious. But is the ugly the new chic, or is it just a passing phase?
Right, to break it all down for us, to tell us exactly what ugly fashion is, and to tell us a little bit more about what it means for our culture. Are we saying goodbye to the male gaze? Are we centering what is authentic? To talk a little bit more about that, we have with us two fabulous fashion influencers who are with us on a show. They know a thing or two about setting trends. Let's introduce you to both of them. First up, we have Jhanvi Bhatia. She's the go-to fashion girl when it comes to a guide for practical style. So how should you dress in your everyday? She's known for her commitment to body positivity. And Jhanvi, in a second, we're going to come to you with questions about how you can adapt different styles that obviously work for models on the runway, but how do you adapt them to the everyday body? That's going to be what we ask you in a second. We're also joined by Muskan Rawat. Muskan is an influencer with the Pinteresty aesthetic, and Muskan has a knack for turning the ordinary into something extraordinary. She's here to talk about how even the quirkiest trends can be made into Pinterest-worthy styles. Let's go over to both of them to understand a little bit more. That was a hell of an introduction for both of you. Jhanvi, first let's just come to you to ask you, tell us first, what is ugly fashion? That's part one of the question. But I also want to understand, because I think this is more interesting, is ugly fashion a rejection of beauty, clean beauty, all these other aesthetics that told women that you have to be naturally beautiful? Is this essentially a screw you? No, we're going to do exactly what we are?
I personally feel like beauty and fashion in general is very subjective. So when it comes to if you look at the past trends, right, back in the 50s, back in the 60s, 70s, if people really didn't challenge or, dare to change that and get in like new trends, would we have the recent trends today that we have? Like if no one really brought in those blingy colors, if no one really brought in those ripped jeans as well, which deemed to be ugly back then, but once they came into trend, everyone started loving them. So I feel like, these trends being ugly or beautiful, if they still define you and if they really are true to your style, I feel it still makes you very authentic, right? There is, and as soon as there are people coming in and judging you for what you're wearing and telling you that this is not what is, beautiful, or this is ugly or something, that's when you start being a little less authentic. So being true to any style, be it ugly or be it beautiful, that is subjective to one person, but being true to it, it'll make you authentic that way. So I guess that is the right approach to style.
Okay. Muskan, let me bring you in. And by the way, great shirt. Lovely to be twinning with the guest on air. So clearly stripes are there. I don't know if it counts as part of ugly fashion at all, but clearly they are here to stay. But just explain this to me a little bit. I'm not very clear about what this fashion trend is really all about. What is this really saying? Is it about a shock value? Is it about saying that you should just let it be how you are? Is it making a statement, or is it actually something that you will see people adopt?
So, like Jhanvi said, that it is subjective, but I do feel like it adds on to the shock value, because sometimes even as audience, you're just so bored of seeing the same thing. So people in general try to do something unique, try to do something unconventional, and that's what I think this is all about. And again, if you like it, if you feel like you can pull it off, if you think it's the new cool, then it can surely be that. And there are few trends which are termed as ugly, but then people pull it off in a way that it just turns out to be so good and so impressive. So I feel like kudos to them. I mean, pretty sure if me and Jhanvi were to be given some ugly trends, we would pull off some of them really well and blend them with our personal style, because I feel like it's not necessary that you see the trend and you take the trend as is. you can just blend it with your own style and just make sure that it's just going with your vibe. And yeah, that's what I fully feel like. Even stripes for that matter, they are in no way ugly. But if you pair them with some other print and if you just mix and match, it might feel like too much. But if you're, just doing it nicely, it might come off as something that's just a part of your personality, a part of your personal style.
Okay, very interesting. Let's go back to Jhanvi then and ask her, Jhanvi, we're in a world of micro trends, right? We're talking right now of ugly fashion, but in the last 1 year, you and I can discuss that there have actually been multiple trends in different waves that come in across the globe. So I just want to ask you, what is your advice to people who ask you, how can I find what my authentic style is? And I just want to ask you there, we're so used to centering ideas like sexy, ideas like hot, ideas like attractive, these words. But if one wanted to put those words away, not look at, looking like any of those words and instead try to be their authentic self, what would that even mean? How do you go about it?
I think experimenting with everything is your real answer. If I were to think of just one thing and wear that constantly and not having to, try out different prints, different patterns or different styles for that matter, I wouldn't understand what really makes me feel confident. In the end, whatever you're wearing should make you feel like it is totally you. So in this world, like, how in the last year itself, we got so many trends coming in, like you said, there were so many things with butter yellow coming in, with bows coming in. None of all of these things were not sexy or, conventionally attractive that way. But it was a new category that we sort of got attracted to, and that was cute, coquette trends, all of these things, very Pinteresty trends again, right? That is something that the Gen Z really got attracted towards. So trying out, experimenting with new things until, like I said, until one really challenges the trends that are there currently and tries out something different, we're never going to come out of the same old thing. So if we're finding our own style, I feel like that's a very long journey again. But it's, again, achievable once you try out different things and understand what really makes you confident. Like if we talk about Ranveer Singh as well, right? Back in the days, he was someone who was wearing really quirky fashion. And if we would ever spot a Bollywood actor wearing the most quirkiest pieces, we could still assume from a distance that it would be Ranveer Singh because he dared to come out. He had a distinct sense of style and he was fearless about it. So I believe when even if the new trends are ugly to some people, it can come out as a very distinct personal style if you really are confident with it and if you experiment with your style.
Okay, so Muskan, what did you think of Naomi Osaka's outfit? She entered the US Open with this brat color, another trend that has been going the rounds. This trend actually made its way to the US elections. So there's a lot happening around there, and the croquettes, like she said, the bows and the rest of them also making a comeback. But I feel like every time a massive trend is used, it's basically for shock value. It's to tell the world that I've arrived. Is that the case?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, that as an audience, when you keep seeing a few trends over and over again, they sometimes do feel like repetitive. They feel like, okay, it's just another trend, everyone's gonna hop on it, and everyone's just gonna do it for a while, and then it's just gonna fade away. And for that, people do, hop on those trends. But then again, you can make it as an integral part of your personal style, and for that shock value as well, because speaking for myself, if I am dressing a certain way for my audience, and then one day I decide to do something out of the box, out of the blue, it's gonna get more, attention. It's gonna be more interactive, even for my audience, and they're gonna feel like, okay, this is something new for us. We wanna know more about it. What is your thought on it? And something like that. So I do feel like when trends come in, you can, like I said before, just evolve them and make them a part of your personality, and that works really well.
Okay, very, very interesting advice. I do want to thank both of you, Muskan, Jhanvi. Thank you for joining us and providing this very, very unique look at how one can go about A, deciding what their own personal style needs to look like, but also B, incorporating these trends. You talked about how you take these big trends, incorporate them to some degree, but listen to your own inner voice.